Hello everyone, this is Crota giving you a shoutcast and a game between DuckloadRa and Dimaga here on Shakuras Plateau. Dimaga spawning as the yellow Zerg player here at what I'll call the 8 o'clock position. Meanwhile, DuckloadRa, more commonly known as WhiteRa, spawning as the red Protoss player. I don't know if I should call him DuckloadRa or WhiteRa. WhiteRa has been his name for quite a while, but DuckloadRa is for his sponsor. So, I don't know, why don't you guys leave comments, let me know what you guys think. And now getting back into the game. So DuckloadRa most likely just going to open up with that standard pylon, warp it in, and perhaps go for, I believe, probably a 13 gateway. And after going for a 13 gateway, he will move along his merry way and try to do some scouting. Meanwhile, Dimaga moving out with this Overlord. Overlord now heading off into this direction over here. Will quickly be able to find that it is going to be a destructible rock spawn here on Shakuras Plateau. It's a 50-50 shot, as you can either spawn either directly across from your opponent or diagonally across from your opponent. You can never spawn north and south of your opponent. Anyways, this Overlord now making its way over into the base over here, as we see this probe now on the move as well. One Overlord going to park itself most likely in this position here, and we may get a hatchery down by Dimaga. No hatchery. It is going to be extractor first, followed by a spawning pool. So this will become a very early metabolic boosted Ling rush here on Shakuras Plateau. And normally I see a lot of Zerg players try to go for that earlier hatchery, as it allows them to get a stronger economy going. And because of the cross spawn, it is relatively safe. We now see that there is one probe making its way over here, does see the Overlord in the air. Dimaga and now knows that the beans are up, just has to come into, I don't know, beans are up, the jig is up, and no tricky play, just coming in straight with this Overlord. We should be seeing a Cybernetics core coming in after the pylon, and wait for it, there, no Cybernetics core. Cybernetics core being parked over here, so Dimaga, he did see that there was that Cybernetics core, but he needs to fly back around to actually click on the building and see what is being warped in. Now, interestingly enough, WhiteRa didn't build any units on his ramp, or build the buildings along his ramp, so one Zealot will not be able to park itself on the ramp and try to stop those units from coming up it. I believe that was actually possible in StarCraft Vanilla or StarCraft Brood War, where if you positioned a Zealot right in the right spot, you could actually hold the ramp and those Zerglings would be able to run by, but I do not believe this is going to be the case. Zerglings now making a quick check, making sure that there is no pylons here. Dimaga should be setting up a hatchery. There we go. And now those Zerglings are going to go out to play. So the Zerglings now moving out to play. We are going to get another pylon here in just a moment as well. Overlord is in the air. Overlord is going to take some damage. Oh no, I thought that was a Stalker walking out. Not quite yet. And now another building will be warped in here in just a second. All we need now are for those Zerglings to arrive at the party. So those 4 Zerglings will be trying to come out, trying to get some damage. And now 4 Zerglings perhaps going to try to get a surround onto the Zealot. No, deciding not to, as with the help of that one Stalker, that Stalker would have been able to deal a lot of damage. Another building now being warped in as well. Probe almost taken down, and now the probe may get picked apart. Oh, down. No, yes, there it goes. It does get taken down. The Zerglings are now trying to run by. One Zergling will be able to walk up that ramp. Will the Overlord be able to survive? I do not believe so. And down it goes, splat into that little, I don't know, lake over here. We see what we currently have an Overlord just parking itself in the position here. We have the one Cybernetics core, and we are all still running off of one gas so far. And Dimaga does know that his opponent is running off of one gas, so that means that it's going to be a lot more gateway units. More gateway units, more another Nexus also being expanded down here on the low ground as well. So DuckloadRa playing more for a macro style, heavy macro game. Dimaga already has his hatchery up and running, so he should be able to transfer some drones in just a second if he does decide to. No, Zerglings now trying to peck at that back door. You can see a lot of drones now mining off of this location. Some are going to be transferred, as we are now going into a Roach War, and Zerglings now trying to take down these rocks. Roaches will be able to take down those rocks much more easily, as another assimilator is now finished warping in. DuckloadRa also having this Nexus here 2/3 of the way completed, and we'll be able to start mining off of those mineral patches in just a second. And a very nice tight front door here, so DuckloadRa doesn't have to really worry about Zerglings trying to run by, and even if they do run by, 1 or 2 force fields would stop any of those reinforcements, and then Dimaga would just take a lot of damage there. Zerglings still pecking away at these rocks. It looks like the rocks will fall down in just a second. There we go. The rocks have now fallen, and now we should be training up some roaches. But those roaches are going to find themselves in a very difficult situation, as they will be trying to go toe-to-toe against some Void Rays or some Phoenixes. Phoenix is obviously not the better choice against roaches, as the Phoenixes have to Graviton Beam, and that's all they can do against those units. But if he does go for Void Rays, those Void Rays are going to be able to deal a lot of damage, and no, it's going to be a Phoenix. So a Phoenix now doing some scouting. One Overlord is in the air, getting some sight here. I believe that Phoenix will be popping out in just a second and dealing a lot of damage. We do see a couple Stalkers now up on that high ground, in addition to one Sentry. As those units warp in, we are going to get one Sentry dealing some damage. That Sentry may actually get 1 or 2 Zergling kills if it is lucky. There's 1 kill. Stalkers are going to finish off that Overlord there, and now those Zerglings are going to back off. These backdoor rocks have already been taken down. These rocks should not get taken down by DuckloadRa for quite some time, as he doesn't have a large enough army to really deal with any Zerglings that try to swarm straight into the base. We now see a Phoenix coming in though, so that Phoenix getting a little bit of that Phoenix walk going, getting some damage in, and now we also have another Phoenix here, and we are going into an evolution chamber. I do not see a Hydralisk Den yet. No, sorry, there's that Hydralisk Den being built off over here. So it is going to be Hydralisk against Phoenixes. And the Hydralisk very, very strong against Protoss air in general. Deals a lot of damage. They are only light units, so units like the Void Ray only deal 6 damage per attack as opposed to 10. And that's without it being fully charged, of course. Phoenix is now just wandering around the map, going Overlord hunting, trying to see if there's any additional hatcheries that were placed down. And DuckloadRa has to just be happy with where he is at the current situation, the current state of the game, knowing that his opponent is currently confined to 2 bases, and that is it, while the Protoss player is also running on 2 bases. You can see DuckloadRa getting a little bit of a mineral advantage, even though he has less harvesters, so not exactly sure how that works. But the Phoenixes are coming in, Graviton beaming some of those drones there, and now drones are now starting to get picked off. Dimaga losing a couple of those drones, and may lose another one in just a second. Yes, losing another drone, and now being forced to pull back once again. Zerglings still sitting over here, both sides playing Sim StarCraft, or just trying to build a very, very strong, efficient city. It looks like Dimaga and DuckloadRa both have very, very even cities so far. 46 drones versus 49 harvesters now at this stage, and now we also see a hatchery coming into play. So Dimaga now getting a hatchery over here will be able to establish a 3rd base, and now there are also Void Rays in the air. Those Void Rays are going to be able to deal some significant damage, and I believe the Zerglings are going to be able to spot one of those Void Rays, but not both of them. Now Phoenix is just continuing to wander around the map, perhaps looking for some more Overlords to be able to hunt down and kill. I do not believe that he's going to be able to hunt down anything, as there are now Hydralisks underneath those Overlords as well. Roaches also being moved out, and now the Void Rays want some blood. Those Void Rays are going to go straight after that hatchery. That hatchery going to take so much damage. 2 Void Rays dealing a lot of damage over time. Hydralisks now trying to make their way over, and this is going to be a very, very bad sight, as if there's only 5 or 6 Hydralisks, those Phoenixes are going to be able to Graviton Beam them, neutralize them, and then let the Void Rays finish off the rest of the damage. And now Dimaga quickly losing his hatchery to 2 Void Rays in the air there. We can now see 2 Phoenixes now deciding to move all the way back home. We also see the Queens now trying to make their way over, but the hatchery has already been sniped down. A creep tumor was trying to be laid. Can it be laid there? I don't think so. Nope, it cannot be laid. The creep has already receded, and unable to lay a creep tumor where there is not already creep, deciding to lay it over here instead. And by laying it here, he will be able to start developing a decent creep highway, building a new drone to start a new hatchery, and letting a new life begin there. Back here, we now see a couple of photon cannons. Those photon cannons can easily get shot, can easily guard against these backdoor rocks against any Zerglings, but any roaches and Hydralisks will be able to take down those rocks with no real issue at all. Protoss level 1 weapons upgrade now coming online, and Carapace upgrade, level 1 armor upgrade for those Mutalisks now being trained up as well. A level 1 armor upgrade not seen that often on air units, but it is important to note that armor upgrades cost 50 minerals and 50 gas more compared to the other upgrades, the air armor upgrades, excuse me. Hydralisks now on the ground. The Hydralisks do not have that groove spine research, and that is a bit of a surprise. Hydralisks need that Groove Spine research in just so they have the same range as a Void Ray. Void Rays and now Colossus on the move, and this looks like a very, very potent ball of units. DuckloadRa moving out with 3775 versus 3325, and will be able to set up a proxy pylon as well. 4 Void Rays in the air, 2 Colossus, a lot of Stalkers. The units should be trying to come up that ramp in just a second. More units need to get back home in order to defend against this, what will be a very, very destructive attack if it is not countered in time. And now look at those Colossus dealing so much damage. Level 1 weapons upgrade. The Void Rays also have level 1 Void weapons upgrade as well. And in comes that Guardian Shield. So that Guardian Shield will be able to absorb a lot of that damage. But there are a lot of Mutalisks in the air, and those Mutalisks are going to be able to finish off many of those Void Rays, as there's not that many Stalkers. So Dimaga, he will end up losing a lot here, but I believe he should be able to fend off the attack as long as he focuses down some of those Void Rays. 2 Void Rays are left. And there is a Queen now coming in to join on the fight, not transfusing that Mutalisk there. Stalkers now trying to come in, but the Stalkers having a very difficult time against Roaches. Roaches could just make their way through, the Zerglings could have made their way through, tried to get in front of those Stalkers and pick them apart. We now see 1 Void Ray in addition in the air. Roaches trying to walk up that ramp, will not be able to do so, and down goes that proxy pylon. So really, just an exchanging of armies by both sides of the game, and no one really getting that much of a lead so far. But it was a pretty expensive attack by DuckloadRa. DuckloadRa losing a couple of Void Rays and losing Colossus as well. As a Protoss player, you do not want to lose your very expensive unit, your Stalkers and your Zealots. You can replenish those rather quickly. But your heavy gas units, your Void and your heavy long build time units, your Void Rays, your Colossus, you don't want to lose just because of the sheer amount of time it takes to rebuild that army. 1 Queen here, another Queen here. Mutalisk in the air, 1925 versus 2450. Harvester count 45 compared to 49. Things are looking up and up, and for DuckloadRa, as DuckloadRa has the larger army at this stage and continue to get more and more Colossus to add into this fight. We now also see the Colossus with the extended thermal lance research should be able to get a lot of damage across the board. Are we going to get those force fields is the key question. I don't see any force fields yet, as those Colossus able to slice through, get a lot of damage. 1 Colossus taking a lot of damage, down it goes, and it looks like DuckloadRa is not even really microing this army, and this is a really weird strategy and stage of this game so far. We now also have Spine Crawlers coming in. Spine Crawlers dealing additional damage against those Stalkers, more Void Rays getting shot down, and even though DuckloadRa has the stronger army at this stage, it doesn't really feel like he can push continually and win. And against a Zerg player, if you're not attacking and taking down his Expos, things are going to start to slowly unravel for you, as your opponent is going to be able to out-macro you very easily. 1 Zealot simply just walking into this position here will be able to take down 1 drone before the last Roach, or those 2 Roaches, are able to shoot it down as well. 2 Photon Cannons now on the ground. Photon Cannons with a range of 7 will offer some additional protection against those Mutalisks. Mutalisks having level 1 armor upgrades, reducing the amount of damage from those Stalkers from 10 down to 9, or sorry, 11 down to 10, as the Stalkers also have level 1 armor upgrades as well. Looking like DuckloadRa wants to take this happy face expansion here. So there's 2 eyes and there's the nose, a nexus of a nose, and now we see this Phoenix just wandering around back and forth, perhaps trying to snipe down some of those Mutalisks. We have a very, very strong creep freeway down the center of the map already, and those units are going to be able to just fly down that freeway, get a lot of damage done, and then retreat very, very easily if the need arises. Harvester-wise, 1100 versus 800, so you can see that WhiteRa is still a little bit behind, now forced to do some long-distance mining off of these mineral patches here. It is giving him a little bit of an economic boost, but not by much, by any stretch of the imagination. 1 Phoenix still in the air, able to gain sight onto this location here. Army-wise, we still have, 2200 gas, 1725. So Dimaga definitely has the stronger gas army at this stage. Trying to get some damage onto that Assimilator. Assimilator already, or almost down to critical hit points. Still has 36 shields to go, as we now are sitting on Dimaga's very, very large army. And you can see how much damage this can really do. Phoenix is now trying to back in once again. Will not be able to. Stalker's able to shoo it away. And now those Mutalisks deciding to just wander around and stay in place for just a little while longer. Currently also have 1 Zergling here, and now we are also getting a Zealot drop straight into the expansion location over here by Dimaga, as we are also getting a main attack here. So Stalkers, Zerglings, And what Roaches and Mutalisk, both sides battling it out. Those Mutalisk are going to be able to get a lot of damage, and it's going to be a very big problem for White-Ra, as White-Ra only has one Phoenix. Two Phoenixes now trying to come in, trying to join in on this fight, but White-Ra is going to lose his whole entire attacking force against just trying to go up against toe-to-toe against a large swarm of Mutalisks. But we now see Zealots coming into this position here. This Warp Prism could turn into phase mode and try to warp in some additional units as well. I don't see why that is not the case. Roach is now down over here. The Zealots are level 1 weapon upgraded, but is not going to be able to deal all too much damage at all. We now see Stalkers now coming in trying to deal more damage as well. Queens in position, more Stalkers now warping in. The Stalkers have to be very, very careful. 7 Stalkers versus a lot of Mutalisks and 3 Queens. That is not a good sight for White-Ra, and White-Ra needs to get out of there. There's still one Phase Prism coming in from the north, but that will get quickly picked off by Dimaga. And as that gets picked off, I believe that is pretty much going to be game, as White-Ra doesn't have any real way to put any pressure on his opponent. And now Dimaga is sitting very, very pretty, sitting very, very comfortably off of his current 3 bases compared to DuckloadRa's 2 bases, and he has to feel very, very confident of himself, and there's the GG. So DuckloadRa losing to Dimaga here on Shakuras Plateau. Thanks for watching, thanks for listening, I hope you enjoyed it.